Hi guys, and welcome to the TechZim Weekly Podcast. Today we have a special guest. I think we teased that on social media. So I'm Leo, and
Limbirani.
yes, and this is our guest,
Willard Shoko.
Willard Shoko, Mr. Starlink himself.
Mr. Starlink, yes. Mr. Starlink, yeah, finally.
Yes. So like we teased, we are going to be talking about the state of Starlink in Zimbabwe. And we thought, getting his perspective on what he's seeing on the ground would be valuable to you guys and to us as well, right out of the gate.
Like how it all started for you, because Starlink is a pretty new thing, right? How you got to be the Starlink guy, and what that was before Starlink for you, like a little bit of that.
Okay, no, that's actually a good question. So the first connection I ever had was a dial-up connection, and it was about 56 kilobits per second via ADSL, via it was dial-up internet at the time. So I just had the interest.
Yeah. The modem.
Yes. Yeah, you got it right. Because you can't talk about dial-up without making that sound. It has to be there. So that was the first ever connection I had. So internet was just something I was just passionate about. I just had a love for internet. And from that day, every other connection was always was something that was interesting to me. From that, there was ADSL. From ADSL, there was fiber. From fiber, there was also VSAT. So, and then there was also leased line. So all those connections.
So a bit of backstory there. So this is Blawayo, because you stay in Blawayo.
Yes.
Grew up in Blawayo.
I grew up in Blawayo, yes.
And so this is Blawayo. When are you at school? Are you at college?
Yes. So my first encounter with internet was dial-up. This was about 99, 2000.
Okay.
That was my first encounter with a dial-up connection. And from there, internet was just something that was just so fascinating about me to actually understand that you could actually search for anything on the internet. Because back in the day, the only source of information you had was the library. Yeah. And now you could actually type in anything you wanted. You don't have to go scroll through the library and look for books. You could just type in something and immediately you would get text. At the time, the internet was not like what you have now. You've got video and rich media. It was just text. But just to get that information at that time was just so much exciting to me.
Yeah.
And from there, I was just hooked on about internet.
Then you got to work for an ISP at some point, isn't it?
Yes, I did work out for my I did work for an ISP, which is quite interesting. I did work for an ISP, I think it was around 2008, 2009. And believe it or not, the total internet capacity was less than 512 kilobytes. 512 kilobytes.
Total capacity
of the actual ISP to actually supply our clients was actually 512 kilobytes. If you even go back to the Zoe story, I think Zoe story was also 2 modems, and we were also somewhere about that, about that region. So the way the internet has grown has been actually very fascinating. So from that time, I was hooked, and even at the ISP would give people like 64K, 128K, and 128K at the time was actually quite a lot.
And these were what, UHF radios? What was this? What were people using to connect to the internet?
Yeah, that's actually a good question, because at the time there was UHF, there was dial-up, there was also WiMAX, if you remember what WiMAX is. Those were the most common connections. It was UHF, dial-up, WiMAX. What changed the game was ADSL. ADSL just came and changed everything. Because when ADSL came, when ADSL was introduced by Tel1, it was something amazing, because now you could now get like 2 megabits per second, which was just It was just.
When was this?
So I'm finding it crazy because when I started playing around with the internet, ADSL was a joke by then. So to forget. So I kind of forget that there was a point when ADSL was a game changer.
Oh, ADSL was a game changer.
Because I didn't experience it.
ADSL was a game changer. So what was happening with the internet is that every 10 years, the internet would increase by close to 1,000 times in terms of speed. Because from ADSL, it was like 56K. Then from 56K going all the way to 2 meg. It was a massive
jump.
It was a massive jump. It was a huge jump.
Yeah. And in stability as well, it was much stabler.
Because with dial-up, it was not always there.
Yeah.
Dial-up was pretty much on demand, because with dial-up, you used to pay per minute.
Yeah.
You used to pay per minute. So when you make that call, the internet was used per minute. But with ADSL, it was now, you could now get, I'm not sure if they're unlimited packages, but you could now get like continuous usage. And with dial-up, if I'm not mistaken, I think when you made a call, the internet would actually go down.
Yes.
With ADSL, they now had the splitter where you could actually split the phone call and the data.
Yeah.
I think we're still yet to get there on our 4G.
where you can still make the call. Yes, because if you're using if you're hotspotting yourself from your
And you receive a call,
mobile data connection, yes, then
you fall back to 3G.
Yeah, but once we have like technologies like VoLTE, LTE, then we'll be able to have both of those.
Every day, millions of moments travel through the air. A call home, a payment made, a lesson learned, a life saved. But behind each moment is something steady, something quiet, unseen, unshaken, powering connection, supporting lives. This is Econet InfraCo, Zimbabwe's largest private infrastructure group, comprising towers, power, and real estate. We build and operate the essential systems that hold the country together with scale, certainty, and purpose. We bring together three powerful engines of progress under one roof. Towers that carry the signal, clean energy that keeps it alive, and foundations that hold it all in one place. Because behind every connection, every transaction, every step forward, there's a quiet force. Econet InfraCo, built for resilience, designed for growth.
Why do we not have voice over LTE in Zimbabwe?
I'm actually not sure. I'm actually not sure why we don't have. It's probably something to do with the MNOs, but it's a technology that's been there for a very long time. It's been there for like forever. There's two technologies. There's VO over LTE, which now makes your calls over LTE and your data over LTE. So when you now get the call, your connection does not then go back to like 3G, 2G, and then it cuts you off, but it's continuous, both over data. So you can receive a call and you're using data. So there are two technologies. There's VO LTE and there's VO Wi-Fi. VO Wi-Fi allows you now to receive a call over your Wi-Fi connection. So if you've got Wi-Fi, like if you're in the building and the signal is not too good, you can still receive the call over your Wi-Fi connection. Hopefully we can get both of those technologies.
So that's what they usually call, for the layman, Wi-Fi calling.
Yes, Wi-Fi. Yeah, that's exactly what I was.
Wi-Fi.
Yes. That's, if you get into Starlink, it will also be quite interesting because when you now use Starlink, usually, like not usually, but some people when they use Starlink, they're like out of range of even the towers. So if they can have that integrated, it means they can have calls and they can also have their Wi-Fi. The benefit of that now is that the MNOs, like Econet, they don't even have to have infrastructure there. So someone can actually now make calls even though they've not invested in that infrastructure, which is something that I always push to say that Starlink also then complements our ISPs.
Still want to go back to the...
You notice that everything always goes back to Starlink.
2020, when did they talk? So when did they talk about Starlink? How did that progress from there's a thing called Starlink, it's not available at all here, to people in Zim are starting to buy some kits? How did that start for you? When was the first time you heard about Starlink?
Okay, so I've always been a fan of Elon Musk. As like someone who's into technology, I saw Elon Musk and what he was doing with his companies, and then that's when I first had the glimpse about Starlink. So someone who's always been excited about internet, when this Starlink thing came up, it was very exciting. When he started talking about that, you could have satellites that are actually in LEO, because we were used to satellites that were like in
the geostationary ones.
And then now these Starlinks are now much closer to you, and you can actually get fiber speeds. So this was around 2020. So it was something that we had to research, look about, and follow. But the good thing is that with Elon, information was always readily.
He was always tweeting about it.
Yes, he was always tweeting about it and talking about it. But also, Elon was not the first to do this. There were other companies that had tried to do it, but they all had failed.
I see.
Because it was something that's creating, like even up to now, he's probably one of the few companies that are actually providing a LEO constellation. Like even if you look at China, they don't have like to the best of my knowledge, they don't have like a LEO constellation that's as good as Starlink. So the LEO space was something that was very difficult to implement, and the companies that have tried it had failed. Before even there was the LEO, there was Google. They tried the balloons.
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
Yes, they tried the balloons to say, they're going to have balloons and all. So just that space of creating that connectivity was not something that was easy.
Creating connectivity
Like
in
providing
hard to reach areas.
It was not something that was easy. Of course, you could do it with GeoSat, but the latencies were not that great, and even the equipment to set it up, it was costly, and the speeds were not that great. And for someone now to actually set up this LEO constellation, was just something that everyone. I was just looking at it and I was like, no, this is something that's nice to follow. It's actually something that's complicated, and for him to pull it off, I was very happy about that. But not just that, also electric vehicles were also something that he did that was also very difficult to pull off. But also we then pulled this off, which was something that was not difficult. Why it was difficult is that with LEO satellites, unlike geosatellites are further away. You need fewer satellites. With LEO satellites, you need a lot of satellites. So you have to launch those satellites. And for you to launch those satellites, you need to have reusable rockets for it to be sustainable. And you have to do it at a very high frequency. Because the LEO satellites, they don't last as long as the geosatellites. Because geosatellites can last for years and years. But LEO satellites, because they're close to the Earth, there's the drag. So you now have to replace this quite a lot. So just looking at all those things, it was for someone who was passionate about internet, it was very exciting to actually find that there's someone who's actually solving the whole internet.
Solving this problem.
And also, if you look at the statistics of the number of people who are not connected, especially in Africa, the statistics are huge. Because as we speak right now, 500 million students, not even people, students are not connected to the internet. So because the internet space, connecting the unconnected places is a very difficult and a very costly solution. So that's why it was actually something that really brought my attention.
So 2019, 2020, this Starlink thing exists, starting to exist as a product. At what point? So I'm actually ignorant of this. So for me, maybe 2023, 2024, that's when I start seeing a lot of it. And I think that's when we start writing about it. 2022, 2023.
Definitely not 2019.
Definitely not 2019.
Yeah.
But then at some point, people started buying them. What happened there? People start buying. Was it the launch in Zambia or Mozambique or just the availability in some African countries? What started this whole thing?
Okay, so at the time, there was no presence of Starlink in Africa. But it was now available like in Europe, it was now available in America. So there was now quite a lot of excitement about that. So people were just researching about it. And when people started hearing about roaming now, that you could actually use this service anyway, that's when, like with the Zim community, there's the diaspora community, they're now also talking about this to say, there's this Starlink product that's great, and it works everywhere, and there's like so many satellites now, because when the first launch was there, it was called the better than beta service. That was in America, where the first user got it, and the speeds were amazing, and people thought, wow, this is something that can actually work. And given you find that Zimbabwe has got a lot of Starlink users, and the reason why they have a Starlink users is because of the pricing challenge that we have in Zim. I also faced that. During that time, I used to pay about $600 a month for internet, for 100 megabit connection because of what I used to do. So anything else that could provide the same speed and was feasible was always something that was going to be excited. Many other countries, like even Nigeria, for example, they were the first to have that service. But their 5G and 4G is so good. It wasn't so much of a hit compared to Zim. And because of our coverage in Zimbabwe, there's a lot of spots that don't have it. So you find that the first people I knew who actually got the service were in the farms. And they had tried a lot of different services. They tried, there's a client I went with, they showed me their storeroom, and it was a museum. There were so many different devices that they had tried to use, but they didn't give them the
VSAT type of
There was
connections.
VSATs, there was different types of VSATs, mobile and this, but none of them gave them They were just best effort. It's just that if I have it, let me use it.
Yeah.
But it wasn't something
And extremely expensive.
It was extremely expensive, exactly. It was extremely expensive because VSAT was slow and also it was charged per gigabyte. So now you're getting a service now that's unlimited and you're getting 200 megabits per second. So many people were excited. And once it was now launching in Europe, and there was now the global roaming package, and the roaming packages, people then got interested. So some of the people actually got it before Nigeria actually had it in Africa, which was pretty impressive.
So what you were seeing were, because I heard you say there were two types of people who were interested at the beginning. Because someone like yourself who was in an urban area but was getting an expensive service, and some in more remote locations who did not actually have any good solutions. Because in the urban, the performance was okay, but the price was too much. But in peri-urban and rural, they actually did not have reliable service anyway.
So you find that like the second class of clients, those were actually the people who needed it most, because like some of the customers that I actually spoke to, they usually used to travel 40 km just to send emails every day, just to get where there was
drive
signal.
to the nearest town or something where
Exactly.
you can get some
so that they
3G.
can get signal, and then they send out emails, and that was just like that was just like how they're now used to it.
Yo.
So now when they actually heard that there's actually a service that works, those were like one of the first people who actually
And they were willing to go through the hoops of buying this wherever it was. If I can bring it to Zim and if it can work, then I'm good.
Yes. Because I mean, that hoop of 40K is every day. You know,
Yeah.
you know, it was. So those were
That's
those were
like
actually
30, or maybe not 30, but like $20 a day internet.
exactly. You know, and it wasn't great internet. It's just one of those things that you know, it's,
And you still have to pay for the internet when you get.
You still do.
you still have to, yeah,
Not to mention the time you lose just traveling to send an email.
Yeah.
So that was the first class. The second class, I'll say, was more of the tech guys, like the enthusiasts. Okay. It wasn't, of course, we wanted a cheaper service, but it was now like more of the enthusiasts, like
Just
who were
excited
passionate
about new
it, who were
tech.
excited about new technologies. I believe those were the first people who actually brought it, and then once they found out that it could work, then they could now actually then
Recommend it to their
to
friends.
the other people, yeah. Because it was not easy bringing it in. It was not easy.
But then it got so, because then people in Mozambique could buy, because I think it was Starlink launched in Mozambique, isn't it? In Malawi and Zambia.
Yes. So the first country where it launched was in Nigeria.
All right.
And then after Nigeria, there was Kenya, Rwanda, Mozambique, Zambia, Malawi, Botswana, and Ghana. I think they launched almost at the same time. Then after that, it actually then came to Zim. And there was also Burundi as well.
Zim October,
September
2024.
September 12th, 2024.
September 12th, 2024. You have an exact date.
Because you know we had our hands, we had our fingers and hands crossed to saying like, you know what, this service needs to come to Zim.
And a month later, sold out.
Yeah, well, for Harare, it was sold out.
For Harare,
and like that was actually a record, like from any other country. The rate at which it went sold out was just. It was. I'm sure if you remember the news when you saw the DHL queues.
Yes.
There's like massive DHL queues. I think it took about 3 weeks for equipment to come in because people were like waiting for their kits to arrive, and even at the DHL offices, it was packed, and DHL couldn't actually fulfill the demand. But I also want to thank DHL because how they actually shifted and how they pivoted and how they actually solved that was actually pretty impressive.
All right. How did they?
I think it was a lot of automation, and also if you go to Blawayo, for example, they started using other sites. Like right now, if you're getting a Starlink satellite in Blawayo, you're getting it from Chronicle, which is now just like an agent for DHL. So they're now just like spreading their. So I think DHL did a very good job in their logistics to actually bring the Starlink services.
To
because
make it easier to get.
initially it was very hard because of like the wait time and the wait periods. The first, like that whole September, people actually were waiting 3-4 weeks, just to get to get it. Yeah. But then after DHL interfered with Starlink and all, after that, it was actually very smooth.
So it looks like they had kits like they brought kits locally, isn't it?
Yes.
And then there was a time, I don't know if that's the case now, where you would buy a kit online and you'd get it the next day.
Yes. So those are the adjustments that they did. That, there were kits on the warehouse, but then there's like a lot of automation that happens, which is something that we should, which is something that Zimbabwe should look into. You know, when Starlink comes in, they shouldn't just look at the connectivity part of it, but they should look at the e-commerce, the backend that Starlink uses, and if we can work with that backend to then also improve in some of our systems right now, because this is the first time where someone could could get internet connectivity at any time of the day. Because right now, for someone in Zimbabwe, before Starlink, for someone in Zimbabwe to get an internet connection, they had to actually go to Liquid, they had to actually go to Tel1 during the day, fill in an application form and wait for it, and you don't know for God when. God knows when you're going to get it. But now someone in Shangani on a Sunday in the evening, as long as they've got a MasterCard, they could just apply.
Yeah.
And because of the system that Starlink has, they could now be able to get that connectivity. Because if it wasn't for that, imagine what someone in Shangani had to do for them to get an internet connection.
Well,
or someone in Tora
they might not even get it.
They might not even get it.
But now they can order it on a Sunday and maybe
In the
during the
evening
week.
or the holiday, any
During
time
the
of
week,
the day.
get it.
Yes.
And
But
maybe even if they have just a little bit of savvy, they could connect themselves.
Exactly.
Take it out of the box, connect things and already be going.
And that's what technology is all about. Advancement of technology is to make things a lot easier, to make things a lot more user-friendly. So this is what Starlink was now bringing it, to make internet easier. We set up VSAT, and VSAT was not easy to set up. You had to be like, you had to go through a lot of training. But now someone who's not, another example I'll give is WhatsApp. You know, WhatsApp makes it easy for anyone to send a message, anyone to send a picture, anyone to communicate. It's simplification, because that's what technology is. So now Starlink is now bringing those technological aspects to someone out in a rural setup or someone in a mine anytime, because technology works 24/7. Anytime you want to do something, you should be able to do it. So we should now collaborate and work with Starlink so that we can have this not just for Starlink, but for other things, where we can learn from this and say if someone wants anything, they can actually get it anytime, anywhere. We've seen those things with things like your InDrive, whereby you can order transport anytime.
You can hail it, right?
Yes.
So coming back to the congestion, so it fills up just a month later.
Yes.
And I remember when we were covering that back then, we were, I'm ashamed to say now, we were saying to people, yeah, just wait a couple of weeks.
Don't remind us.
Then we sort of like, maybe wait a couple of months. The idea was Starlink just needs to add capacity. At least that's how we understood it. Just need to add capacity, and people can start buying again, the people in Harare. But then Bulawayo fills up as well a few months later, and it's been more than a year now, maybe a year, 6 months now, and it's still not solved.
And the problem is getting worse.
Yeah, it's close to 450 days for Harare. So
You're counting days?
we're keeping a track of these days, and why we keep a track of these days is that it's something that we saw was coming.
Okay.
So that's why other geographies have got ground stations, and that's why we've been advocating for a ground station so that it can help with its capacity. But by design, Starlink was not meant for urban areas. It was meant for remote and underserved areas. But because the service was more affordable than fiber, because in other countries, Starlink is actually more expensive than fiber or 5G.
Yeah.
But now in Zimbabwe, it's now the inverse, where Starlink is actually at times faster and more affordable. So you find that people are actually shifting from fiber to Starlink because the benefits are almost the same. We moved a lot of clients from, especially
the fiber providers.
Yeah, especially in the outskirts, like in Kwekwe, there were lodges that were on fiber, and some of the lodges were paying as much as 1,500 a month for a 10 or 50 meg connection. And then now Starlink comes and they are saying you can pay $30 for 400 megabit per second connection. So because of that, I can say disparity, many people started moving to Starlink. But if you go to other countries, like if you go to Ukraine, a gigabit connection is €7. If you go to America, $40, $50, you can get a gigabit connection. But in Zim, to get a gigabit connection, It's just that things started changing now, but it's actually quite costly to get a gigabit connection.
Cut off your toes.
You have to cut off your toes. So what was happening was that Starlink, ideally Starlink is supposed to be slower than fiber, but what was happening was that Starlink was actually faster than fiber. So
Why?
that's why, okay, that's a good question to ask. It was not a technological limitation. That's the sad part. It was more,
Fiber, if you had a fiber connection and it was slow, or at least it turned out to not be as fast as Starlink, it wasn't because the fiber could not do it.
no, it wasn't a technological limitation.
Okay.
It was just a limitation that the ISPs put.
Why?
It could be like a profit point of view, because the fiber connections that we first had, the first tier was a 20 megabit connection on fiber, and it used to cost about $200 something
Okay.
before Starlink came in.
Okay.
I was on a 100 megabit per second package, and it costed 600. So when people now saw Starlink, they started now looking at the pros and cons, and they found that, you know what, it's cheaper to actually get Starlink because it had a faster speed. But it wasn't because of the technological limitations of the fiber. It was just the limitations that the ISPs put.
But did the ISPs have? Did the ISPs sell faster connections at higher price, or they just had this the same speed for everyone, except you had people buying some data, like kept data, where you're buying 50 gigabytes of data a month, you're buying 100 gigabytes of data a month. The other guy is unlimited. So what was it exactly?
It was more like a monopoly.
Okay.
And it was like an artificial shortage. It's not just Zim that did it, but many other countries also used to do it. So that's why you find out that immediately when Starlink started becoming a threat, so just a few months before it came in, or I think it was a year before it, there were now that's where you started getting your smart bees now. That's where you find that your fiber speeds are now being adjusted. Fiber speeds were adjusted twice, and they were made cheaper. But they only did this because they found that Starlink was now becoming a threat. So the speed was there, but because of monopolistic behavior, there was no need to do that. But then once Starlink came in, that's when they started.
Did you
changing.
have to pay more for faster speed? That's what I'm trying to.
Yes. Like I was paying $600 for 100 meg.
But the standard was 10. If we're talking liquid, because
10 megabits per second.
Yes, but the way I remember the package is being structured in a way where, if let's say you're getting a kept package, let's say 50 gigabytes, you'd get the standard. 10 seems to be the maximum for the cheaper packages. Then if you got a higher data package, you could get it at maybe 15 or 20 megabits per second up to a limit if the unlimited guys at their own maximum speed as well. But no one was getting 50 on just a standard package. That came through late.
What was the incentive there for the ISP? If, for example, I buy 50 gigabytes, right? It's a kit package and 50 gigabytes. Is it not in their interest to make this as fast as possible so that I can exhaust my 50 megabytes? Like if I'm watching video on YouTube and they make it faster, maybe YouTube will suggest that I watch it in 4K, and therefore, if I watch it in 4K, I deplete my data quickly, and then I go and buy some more.
Yes, that makes sense. But just go back on unlimited packages with Zoll. I think I'll just put up like for example Zoll, they had like a 20 meg, 30 meg, 50 meg, 20 meg, 30 meg, 50 meg, 100 meg. Those are the packages that were there.
Okay, for the unlimited.
Yeah, for
and
unlimited.
You're paying more.
Yes, you're paying more.
faster
So
internet.
you're paying 20. You're paying for 30. It's a higher price. For 50, it's a higher price. For 100 meg, it's a higher price. Okay. But for capped packages, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're limited to 10 or 20 because people also used to complain that our packages deplete too fast. So then they say, you know what, we're going to just cap it to that.
Oh,
So
there's that as well.
yes.
So Starlink comes along.
But and also there was a problem that they couldn't make it faster because the guys were paying unlimited. Like, but why? If you're paying unlimited.
Because the incentive for the unlimited guys is to give them slower speed so that they don't exhaust.
And maybe the unlimited guys are the real revenue earners, isn't it, for the business?
You'd imagine. Yeah, I guess so. But I mean, the guy who's getting 50 and depleting it in a week and getting another 50 could be a cash cow in disguise. He doesn't realize if he's just on an unlimited package.
Yes, but the thing about internet is that internet is an enabler. Internet should not be the end result. That's why you look in America, you find that your ISPs are not the big companies. Your Googles are your big companies. Your your Ubers, your data center Amazons, your AWSs, because the internet is an enabler. Your internet should not be an end result. Internet should enable people to then, for you to now then give services on top. It shouldn't be the end result.
Unless you're an internet company, unless you are a connectivity company, and for you, the internet is the product. So your incentive is to make money on the connectivity and not on...
It's a good way to look at it. But then if you look at most of the internet companies right now, you find that like even with Zoll, you find that they offer Microsoft Teams. You find that they do hosting. You find that they do emails. You find that they do
security.
backup. You find that they do security. So the problem we've had in Zimbabwe is that the internet has always been an end product, and it's not been an enabler, and of which the internet is supposed to be an enabler. Because right now you find that when people are spending so much on the internet, they can't spend anything on. They can't spend much on anything else. But if you now make the internet an enabler, in other countries, when they give you unlimited internet, they give you free calls, they give you free TV, they give you free a lot of things. But then now the business case now becomes on the services on top. That's why even companies like Liquid, for example, they're now called Liquid Intelligent Technologies, where they say we're no more a connectivity company, but we're now giving you VoIP, we're now giving you backup, we're now giving you Microsoft Teams, we're now giving you that. So the internet should
and
not
now
be...
they're talking about AI.
Yes, and now they're talking about AI.
Yeah.
But now if the internet is now too expensive, it means that people cannot then...
Access all those other things.
Yes, because people are willing to pay more for things that bring value to their businesses. So if AI brings more value to your business, you're able to pay more.
I would say, like, in defense of those companies, I would say that maybe they don't make as much on those other products, where Amazon is a company that is built on the assumption that there's connectivity, or Google, or Meta, Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, they're built on the assumption that there's connectivity, and I'm going to give you something that you like and you're going to use very much, and it creates a whole ecosystem, With these companies that are connectivity companies, like Tel1, like Liquid, like Dandem Tande, Powertel, and so on, the connectivity is their product. And when they bring in things like Microsoft Teams, things like, what was the 365, it's Microsoft that's making the bulk of the money on that product. They are sort of like reselling it for a commission, I guess. I'm not sure about the business models there, but they're reselling it for a small commission. So their incentives are to make as much money as they can on the connectivity. So who solves that problem now of the internet being treated as the end product here? Who solves that problem of making sure that the economy or the economic activity within the country moves beyond the connection and moves into the apps and everything? I mean, for all the mention of AI, I don't know if we've, if any ISP, has introduced an AI type product or driven product that someone is paying for. Hell, I don't even know if the companies in Silicon Valley are making money, real money of AI yet.
Who knows? Maybe Econet is killing it with EcoChat. With Eco AI.
Do you know anyone who uses EcoChat?
I don't, but
So who solves that problem?
If you look at it, I'll just give you an example. If you look at it from, if you look at the source of our internet, where most of our ISPs get our internet from, they get it from a company called NEP Africa. NEP Africa. NAP Africa.
Okay.
There's a company called Terraco. Terraco is a data center company which is situated in Johannesburg. Inside Terraco, data center company, there's what's called NEP Africa, which is an internet exchange. The reason why NEP Africa came to be in 2012, they decided to say, we're going to set up an internet exchange for free, where all the CDNs, when I say these are your content delivery networks, so basically in NEP Africa, you'll find that there's like Amazon, there's Google, there's Oracle, there's Microsoft. They connect for free, and ISPs connect for free. There's no charge for the WhatsApp connects for free to that network. So it's like a big network where all these different providers connect for free. So the whole reason for that was to make the internet much cheaper. So our ISPs connect to NEP Africa for free.
Okay.
So meaning that they are not all they have to pay is just to be in there. But For them to access the WhatsApp server, it's for free. For them to access TikTok, it's for free.
Which is sitting at a data center,
At a data center
in Johannesburg.
In Johannesburg. So many people think that when they, I have to demystify this here. When you're accessing YouTube or you're accessing TikTok, you're not going to TikTok servers in America. You're actually accessing them in Joburg. And for ISPs, it's free for them to access all these services. So meaning that the cost of internet has been reduced for them. So already the cost of internet is already next to nothing.
But they're paying for the leg, they're paying for the bandwidth from this data center they're buying the bandwidth from the data center in Johannesburg or Maputo or whatever, the connectivity, up to the point where they can distribute it as internet to you. So if I was an ISP, please correct me if I'm not understanding this correctly. If I'm an ISP in Harare, I buy a certain amount, a capacity of a pipe to, say, Johannesburg. And that pipe is provided by Liquid, maybe PowerTel, maybe Tel1. And so I'm an ISP, I'm paying Tel1 some money to sell me a portion of a pipe of bandwidth. And maybe as an analogy, a set capacity on a road to Johannesburg. And when I connect my customers in Harare, those customers are going to, one of those customers needs to access YouTube, and I charge them for them to send their traffic to Joburg, because I bought a section of this pipe, and then they enjoy their YouTube. And I can fit as many people as I need on this pipe to the extent that the pipe is full. So does it matter to me as an ISP that they are getting YouTube and TikTok in Joburg, or that they're getting this YouTube and TikTok in a server in Europe? Because I'm charging for this, I'm just charging for them to get connectivity. Would it be more expensive to me as an ISP if there was no cached servers with YouTube content in Johannesburg?
Yes, it will be more expensive, because you now then need to buy the bandwidth to actually get to where it's located.
So now I need to pay for the leg between Joburg and Europe, maybe.
Yes, but YouTube is also in Zim. There are caching servers in Zim, and there are also Netflix caching servers in here, right here in Harare. So the YouTube videos you're watching, they're actually coming here from.
Where are those servers?
There are
some data centers.
Yes, there's some data centers. I think in Willard there's one, and I'll just need to confirm. But those caching servers are there. Even Tel1 has got. There's Cloudflare actually in here. So the YouTube content and the Netflix content is already being cached here.
Locally in Zim.
Locally in Zim. So why I bring in this here? Why NEP Africa is important is that Starlink is also using the same route. And that's why Starlink is also affordable, because they are also getting that content from NEP Africa. Because the architecture, now going to the Starlink architecture, and how the Starlink works is that from your Starlink dish, you're connecting to a satellite. Those satellites we're talking to that are in low Earth orbit.
Yeah.
And then those satellites now then communicate.
This is my house.
Yes.
This is
the satellite.
The satellite.
And then this is the ground station.
In Joburg.
No. The ground station is in Mozambique. There's
Mozambique.
one in Mozambique,
Okay.
and there's one in Botswana.
Okay.
We've always been pushing that that ground station becomes in Zimbabwe. This was going to then make the internet cheaper, so that we can now have those services there.
All right, let's finish this.
All right.
So my house,
yeah.
I connect to a low Earth orbit satellite.
Yes.
What happens next?
And then also just to remind you that there's thousands of these low Earth orbit
Oh,
satellites.
so I'm exchanging depending on the orbiting that's happening.
Exactly.
So I'm connecting to a fleet of
yes.
LEO satellites.
Yes.
What
And
does
then-
this fleet do?
And then this another important thing is that the satellite knows where this fleet is in real time. So it knows exactly.
My
knows-
Starlink dish
it knows-
knows where the satellites are.
in real time.
Okay.
Like where in a precise.
Okay.
In a precise. I'll go back to the satellites. Why more satellites are important.
Okay.
But after that, it now then connects to.
Thank you, because my hand is getting tired.
Sorry.
Yes.
It now connects to a ground station.
So from here, these this fleet of satellites
Yes.
go to a ground station.
Yes. So the
Okay.
whole purpose of a ground station is now to then connect you to the terrestrial network, to the fiber network.
So ground station in Mozambique has a fiber cable going to Joburg,
To Terraco.
in Joburg.
Yes, to the same place.
Okay.
To the same place where ISPs get our internet from.
All right. All right. And so if we would have a ground station in Bulawayo, for example, how would that be a better scenario than currently?
Okay, how it is that, firstly, if I'm Bulawayo, it means I'll just go get a bit technical, just a little bit,
Yeah.
right? So how it works is that if this is my satellite, right? There's satellites that are moving across, right? Like there's satellites moving across.
If that's a dish.
Yes, the
Yeah.
dish. And then the antenna is a bit different from your DSTV antenna because it's a phased antenna and it can get signal from this side and it can get signal from this side.
Okay.
So if the satellite is here, it means that it's going to connect to the satellite this side, right? But if the satellite is directly above, it means Pythagoras theorem, this is closer
Yep.
than this again. So the more satellites you have, the closer it can get a satellite that's here because of the Pythagoras theorem. So if your ground station is in the same location, you've got more satellite, it means it reduces your latency. But again, it works better if you now then bring these CDNs closer to Zim. If you can have your YouTubes, your TikToks, and all that then reduces the cost of internet, which is what we are trying to push for. So
in terms of capacity, you're saying ground stations could help open up a little capacity in places like Harare and Bulawayo.
Yes. So So ground stations will definitely create, but it's not just ground stations. There's ground stations because ground stations connect to a fiber connection, and that fiber connection, just that already creates more capacity. So more ground stations, you have more fiber connections that are coming in, that also create capacity, and more satellites that can also speak to those ground stations. So if you look at countries like, for example, Mozambique was also at capacity at one point. They put a ground station. It reduced the capacity. If you look at Kenya, same thing, they were at capacity. They put in more ground stations. Recently, Brazil was at capacity. Brazil's got more than it's got more than 1 million, but they were at capacity. There's actually a place I was writing about called the Amazonias area, which has been at capacity more than any other place. But when they then spoke with Starlink to bring in more ground stations, those places, they're almost sold out areas in Brazil. So if we can also have ground stations, just to give you an example, in America alone, there's more than 100 ground stations. America is about the same size of as the SADC. SADC, we've only got 2 ground stations, but America has got 100 ground stations. New Zealand is smaller than Zimbabwe, and it's got 8 ground stations. So you find that
smaller than Zim.
Yes.
But it has 8 ground
8.
stations.
I think they're actually putting more.
When the whole of Africa is how many? 7 or
Yeah, it's got like about because there's about 3 in Nigeria, 1 in it's 10. 3 in Nigeria, 1 in Ghana, 3 in Kenya, and then 1 in Mozambique and 1 in Zambia. So we need more ground stations. And the benefit of ground stations is that these ground stations connect to your fiber network. So if you had a ground station in Bulawayo, it's going to connect to your Econet, it's going to connect to your Tel1, it's going to connect to your DFA. So meaning that the source of the internet is not going to come from our ISPs. So if you had got a ground station earlier, it was going to mean that the whole of the SADC region was not going to get fiber from the internet from Zim. This was going to help reduce the cost of internet. By reducing the cost of internet and improving the internet, it means you can now have better 5G. Because you're now improving the internet. So the internet should be viewed holistically in that if we improve our Starlink at the same time with ground stations, we're also improving the 5G network. Because like right now, there's no internet exchanges in Bulawayo. We have an internet exchange in Bulawayo. It improves the internet. So Starlink, in a way, improves the internet for Zim.
So on that, so I think I understand now how ground stations would help with the capacity issue. But then there's this issue where every other week or month you see SpaceX launching satellites into space, and you see in the forums people excited, oh, maybe this might open up capacity. So we've seen the number of satellites in orbit really increase since Starlink came to Zim, but that has not helped with capacity. So what's the issue there? How come the number of satellites in orbit is not translating to more capacity here? Or is that a non-factor until we get more ground stations in Africa?
It does contribute because if you look at Bulawayo, there's been times where Bulawayo has actually been off capacity and there's been gaining capacity and off capacity. That's just been because of those satellites. But again, with capacity,
It's the West now that
is the West Bulawayo has been
Yeah.
in the West. But also the demand for Starlink in Zimbabwe is massive. Right now, Zimbabwe has got more Starlink subscribers than the SADC region combined. And very soon it's going to have more Starlinks than the UK combined. That's just how much, and we don't have a ground station. So just the demand for Starlink in Zimbabwe is actually very, very high. It's extremely very high.
So Zimbabwe is a headache for SpaceX in that they never anticipated a Zimbabwe that much demand.
There are very few people who actually anticipated that the demand for Starlink in Zimbabwe, because right now you just speak 1% of all Starlinks that are being produced are coming to Zimbabwe worldwide. The demand is so high. Also because like our ISPs, also the pricing and stuff. You find that in other countries, the internet is a lot cheaper. Our internet is actually a lot more expensive compared to other places. So people are preferring to use Starlink because it's more affordable than other options.
What's the number now? What's the number of Starlinks subscribers?
The official number is about 50K.
50,000.
50K plus. That's the official number. But
Yeah.
but there's also roaming clients. There are a lot of roaming clients. So
and those roaming clients also keep increasing, isn't it? Because now I hear people are buying Europe and South America.
Yes. So what happens is that it's not like technically it's not like there's no capacity. Technically, there is capacity, but some of that capacity is only available for resellers. Because right now, if you had to go to Aura, if you had to go to Taiwan, you'll get a dish.
But those are business guys, isn't it?
Yes, those are business guys. So what they're doing is that
expensive dish, man.
yes, so they are reserving. Their capacity is reserved. So there is capacity, but they're saying that we can't give you this capacity because it's already reserved for these clients. And again, Zimbabwe does not have the roam package. So that's why we have to use roam. That's why people are now using roam from other countries. But again, why they don't have roam?
Zimbabwe or Africa?
No, Africa does have roam, but there are only a few countries that don't have roam. Nigeria, Zimbabwe, Malawi, and Sierra Leone. I think those are the four that don't have.
So Zambia still has roam?
Zambia has got roam, but they've got 50 gig roam.
So any insight as to why we don't have roam?
Naughty countries.
Yeah, but I think this is what I believe. I think the business resellers want to make business. So that's why maybe there could be some
negotiations
with Starlink. Because once the roam is available, then business probably won't sell as much.
Okay, you reserved capacity for us as business resellers, but there's this back door that people are using to buy Starlink and get it anyway.
Yeah.
So can you close this up? Then they close that gap, but Zimbabweans still find a way to go and buy in Europe, buy in other African countries where roam is still a thing. So that problem is not solved then.
Yes. Because if you get a roam package, you'll still use it. Although in Harare, it's now not as great because of the number of Starlinks. But if you get it, you can use it. You can use it anywhere else. So you find that those are the same packages that are also being used for buses as well. Because with your residential, it's only in a fixed location, but with roam. So you find that the earlier users, there was roam before, then it was closed. So there was roam for I think it was for like a month or two, then it was closed. So some of the bus operators already have that roam services, but then it was closed because of the whole legality of Starlink in Zim and in Africa. It was only closed for Africa. Then it was opened recently.
Okay, so going back to the ground station, because you mentioned something that I found interesting. Because if we are that huge of a market, and of course they know this, they have their dashboards telling them everything. Why have they not put a ground station here? Why do you think Zimbabwe has not been chosen as a location for a ground station when it's this popular? Is it at the policy level? Is it economy level? Why exactly? Because you would think, as an outsider, this would be the place to put at least two. I mean, one in Malawi, one in Harare. So what's going on there?
No, according to him, maybe 10 or 15.
Ideally would need 10, the minimum 10. But now it then becomes on regulatory and policy why we don't have a ground station, because we've been advocating for a ground station even before Nigeria had a ground station. We saw this coming, and right now we've seen that Botswana now has a ground station, and we also see that Mozambique has a ground station, but we have been advocating it. But unfortunately, policy, we actually presented it and actually pushed it to Parliament, but unfortunately, because of policies, that's why we don't have a ground station. But it would be ideal for us to have a ground station, and having a ground station will also benefit our fiber connections as well. The fiber companies will also benefit, and it will also help improve the internet for your 5G and your fiber as well.
Oh, so on this ground station, so they need approval at the ministry level or whatever government level. So when it comes to their ground stations, do they fund their like all their ground stations, or do they partner with interested partners in other countries to say, okay, no, look, Starlink, we would like a ground station in Zimbabwe, would fund it, maybe have some kind of agreement, or is it them who would then have to fund the whole thing and bear the whole country risk and everything?
Yeah, so what happens with the ground stations is that they are fully funded by SpaceX. So basically, all that Zimbabwe needs is just approval.
And they are willing to
More than. We're like the biggest market in Africa. Right now, Rwanda only has 5,000 kids, less than what the government gave to schools. The total of Rwanda is 5,000 Starlinks, and they already partnered to get a ground station in Rwanda. Zimbabwe has got more than 10x.
No, that's interesting because to me, I always wondered who really did not want or who was blocking a ground station in Zimbabwe. Because I was thinking for Starlink, it makes sense at the business side. I don't know if at the risk side they are worried. So I didn't know who was actually blocking a ground station in Zimbabwe. Was it our government? Was it Starlink hesitant to invest in Zimbabwe? That's what I wasn't sure of. So Starlink is willing to
More than
come to
willing, because the ground station not only serves for Zimbabwe as well, it serves for the region, it serves for air traffic, it also serves for marine traffic. So it's very beneficial for Starlink.
You mentioned a ground station being beneficial for the speed of for the service, at least. Did you say speed for fiber and 5G? What did you mean by that? How does it?
Okay, so I've been advocating mostly that we get a ground station in Blawayo. So basically, ground stations normally connect to an internet exchange.
Yeah.
In Blawayo, we don't have an internet exchange. What that will then mean is that we'll now have an internet exchange. And once you have an internet exchange, because right now, why it's important to have an internet exchange in Blawayo, and why I'm advocating Blawayo, because I stay in Blawayo, is that on fiber, right now on fiber, my traffic, our internet source in South Africa, my internet first has to go to Harare, and then from Harare it now goes to South Africa.
Okay.
Which
means high latency.
High latencies. If I've got fiber on the opposite side of the building, and someone has got fiber on the opposite side of the building, this traffic first has to go to Harare, and then it comes back. So if I've got a service, like for example, City Council, I've got on my phone my Econet, it first goes to Harare, and then it comes back, which is inefficient. But now when you start having this ground station, it now then creates an opportunity to set up an internet exchange. By having an internet exchange, it means that traffic doesn't have to go to Harare first and back just for traffic between.
But why is that not happening anyway? Like, if you are on a telco fiber connection in Blawayo, and I'm on a 5G connection, and there's some need for connectivity between me and you, why don't the ISPs by themselves locally? Why don't we have an exchange in Blawayo for Blawayo traffic and for caching even this international content we're speaking about in Blawayo? Why is that not happening? Because it's sounding like it's important anyway, Starlink aside.
Yes.
So why has it not happened? These are all commercial companies,
Yes,
reasonable companies. Liquid, Tel1, Telco, Tande. These are all reasonable companies that want to make their customers happy. So why is that not happening?
As to the why, I'm not sure why, but we've been pushing for an internet exchange in Blawayo for that exact same purpose. Because the whole idea of an internet exchange is to make internet more affordable. Sometimes it might not be what ISPs want, but ideally that's what the whole...
Why would they not want that? Because ideally, if I am an ISP and I have a pipe, whatever that pipe looks like, between Harare and Blawayo, I would prefer that the customers I'm connecting in Blawayo do what they need to do locally and only use the pipe between Blawayo and Harare when they really need to. Why would it be in my interest for everyone to connect to Harare, a remote place, for all their internet needs? Why would that be in my interest as an ISP? That
because I think 2 internet exchanges is more expensive than 1. So,
but the internet exchange is not something like the cost of that at least from what I understand, is not significant. It just means the ISPs amongst themselves are agreeing that, hey, when someone wants something locally, let's just PA locally.
Yes.
And we can serve our clients locally. But when there's need for something that's not here, when someone needs to communicate or send a data packet somewhere else that's not here, then we can connect there. The same way where if you want to watch a video, correct me if I'm wrong, if you want to watch a video that has not, that is not available locally in Joburg or in Harare, I don't know, you're watching, what are those services that?
There's Netflix, there's Prime.
Yes,
Prime
but then
Video.
there's those
CDNs.
pirate type
Oh, okay.
movie box. So the idea is no one would want movie box appearing in Joburg. I don't know, maybe no one wants. So you want to watch a video that's on there, which means you have to get it wherever movie box has a server or has someone that's willing to give them a server, which means your internet, your streaming is slower than if you were just going to watch a Netflix movie that's cached where they have a server that's caching locally. So I'm not getting the incentive. What is the incentive for operators to not do that? It doesn't sound like you are the engineer. Is this expensive to do?
It's not expensive. It's actually very, very, very cheap. But what normally happens is that when there's a dominant ISP, they feel like maybe they've invested so much, and now other ISPs are just going to benefit from without much investment. So those, because someone will say, I set up the fiber to Harare, I set up the fiber to South Africa. Now someone is not just going to come in there; they're going to peer. So that is usually the challenge of peering, because when you're peering, you're bringing competitors together. It's they're competitors.
Can't they just charge a rental for that?
When you're bringing in competitors, people are competing together, and you're bringing them in the same room to say, you know what, don't compete, just offer a service.
Because if I'm dominant at the moment, I don't want anything to change.
Yes, if you're dominant, you're like, hey, I'm doing fine.
All right,
Yeah.
all right. Let it be more expensive for you
Exactly.
to
Because
go
it
and
makes
get
it-
Netflix.
Yes.
I have it here, and I'll serve my customers. And so I contain my costs because I invested some money into this pipe.
Exactly, because what it does is that it reduces the cost.
So you do your own thing.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is that it's more a regulatory question, a policy question, than competitors talking to each other.
Yes. So then now, like when you're now bringing something like SpaceX or Starlink to do it, people have got no other choice, because SpaceX is already dominant. It's already a big company. So it's either you do it or you don't. And if you don't, you lose out.
Also, when they do their ground stations, they do the exchanges as well.
They do the exchange, and if you don't peer there, then you're going to lose out. Yes. So that's why we're saying that. That's why we're finding it easier for Starlink to bring a ground station. Then that way, all parties will now they want to come there. But then now to bring all parties without the ground station, it now becomes a bit difficult. Because what now happens, like right now, you find that latency now on Starlink, because in Blawa I have to go through Harare and back. You might find that latency is in Starlink at some point. For some pings, it's actually less than fiber. So,
Come again?
Like because I stay in Blawa and my traffic has to first go to Harare and then go to South Africa. If I'm using fiber, but with Starlink, it has to go to Mozambique and then go to South Africa. You find that sometimes the ping is actually a lot less than fiber. So if they set up their ground station, these other companies will have to now then comply.
Sometimes it's less than fiber.
It's less than fiber, yeah.
Even though it has to go to the satellite, to space, come down into Mozambique, go to Joburg, and then make that whole trip back to you.
Yes, it's actually less. Like for some subset. I'll give you an example. Let me give another much
That doesn't make sense.
Let me give you a much broader example. Right now, using Starlink, if they were to use their lasers to Europe, because the satellites are interconnected with laser. This was back then before we started using the ground stations in Kenya and in South Africa. The ping times over lasers to Spain were a lot less than fiber. Why? Because laser in space travels faster than a laser through the cable. Through the optic cable, yeah. Because in space, yes, so there's no refraction. So it just and it's also moving on a straight line. So from my dish to the Starlink satellite, it's a straight line, almost like a straight line to Europe. Now, when I'm using fiber, it has to go to Harare, it has to go to South Africa,
Okay.
and it now has to follow the outline of the continent. Because Africa continent is like this, and it goes around. And it comes like this.
my point of presence.
Yes.
Yeah.
So and it's also being refracted. So it so in a vacuum in space.
It could degrade the signal, you know.
Yes. So in a vacuum in space, it moves 40 times faster than in a fiber tube because there's refraction, so it moves a bit slower and it has to go through many routers. So you find that if we were still using the ground station in Spain, you find that our latency is about 80 milliseconds as compared to 200 and something on fiber. So it brings
now through Mozambique is what?
Through Mozambique, it can actually go as low as 20 milliseconds. From Blawa, it's usually 25 milliseconds.
Hey, that would be brilliant for gamers, eh?
Yes, for gamers,
Because
especially if they
when you're playing a game, man, I would do a shooter. A bullet needs to kill your enemy immediately.
Yes. For latency, it's good. But then they're now bringing in the V3 satellites, the newer Starlink satellites, which are going to be lower in terms of orbit.
Yeah.
And they're going to be lower, and they're going to have much more capacity. So we're going to see that very soon latency compared to fiber is going to be a lot less. But if we now then change and start putting our internet exchanges and we bring in those CDNs, then we now have 1 millisecond to Google.
Okay.
And Starlink can't compete. Right now we've got 20 because you're going to South Africa. But if you now bring in the Googles, the Netflix, the TikToks,
Local CDNs.
local CDNs, it means that we now have 1 millisecond and fiber, and then Starlink will not be able to beat that. But right now, because of our setup, that's why Starlink is can be a better option.
Also, but even with the V3 satellites, if we don't have a ground station in Zimbabwe, we can expect just limited capacity opening up. Is that the case? Or should we expect to see, maybe 10,000 more people getting on board?
I'm confident that once we have the V3 satellites, Blawa will open up. That's one thing for sure. And I believe Harare should also open up because just the number of the V3 satellites has got 1 terabyte per second just download capacity, and it's lower, so the beam width is a bit tighter compared to the current one. So I believe it will start opening up quite. If it doesn't open up, it will definitely shrink it.
Explain that beam thing and how it affects
so
capacity.
And you said 1 terabit. And what was in as well? What was it before?
But before, like the V2 Mini is about 192 gigs. Yeah. So what happens is that
More than 5x.
yeah, it's going to be quite massive, and not just that. They're going to be using the new Starship. So right now they're using the Falcon 9 rocket. So now they're going to be using the new Starship, and the Starship will be able to carry 60 of those. So in each mission will be about 60 terabytes. Right now, the current Falcon 9 can only accommodate about 25 V2s. So it's almost going to be a 10, 20x just for one launch. So that also is going to affect the pricing. So we can believe that
they can launch more of these newer satellites at a time.
yes, with the new Starship satellite. So if you've seen that big still that they're just so it's going to be cheaper to install because the material is made up of it's going to be cheaper, and the whole Starship is now reusable. So it's not like the Falcon 9 where part of it is reusable, and it's coming back and it's being caught with those chopsticks, and immediately it can be taken back up. So it's going to be very interesting. Regarding the beam width, if you look at GeoSat satellites, it's further away from Earth, so it's got a much bigger beam.
Okay.
Because it's further away from Earth. But as you get closer, it means you can cover a smaller range. So that's why GeoSatellites, you only just need one satellite to cover the whole of maybe Southern Africa. But with LEO, you're now covering just a small portion. So the closer you get to Earth, the tighter the beam. So meaning that, like right now, let's say, for example, you're covering maybe a capacity of maybe 20Ks. If you now then narrow that beam, maybe you're saying 10Ks or 5Ks, then you can have more satellites. So it means that you now have more capacity. So what I can say is that once the V3 satellite starts launching, it's game over. If our ISPs don't pull up our socks, it's game over.
So the closer it gets, the smaller the width of the beam.
Yes, so it's just like if you've got a torch. If you put your torch close by, it covers the small, and then as you bring it up, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So now the new V3 satellites are going to be like almost 100 kilometers lower than the current ones.
Which means smaller coverage per satellite.
Yes, but more satellites.
More satellites.
Because you've got a smaller beam, right?
Yeah.
But the smaller beam now, you're covering, you'll be able to cover more, but now you have more beams. Because right now you've got one beam and you've got a bigger area, but now you have smaller
and
beams.
the beam can only accommodate so many connections at a time.
Yes, but now you have smaller beams and smaller areas. It means you can now cover more areas with multiple satellites.
And you're saying with these newer beams on the V3s, they can accommodate more people per beam than the V2s could. So that's a compounding factor as well.
Yes, and then there are also new things that are also coming in. Like right now, the FCC was approved to increase power, and the current constellations have also been allowed to move a bit lower after the Chinese incident where they almost hit, the Starlink almost hit one of the Chinese rockets. They've been allowed to bring the satellites lower. Yeah, lower. The whole reason for bringing the satellites lower is that with the LEO orbit, many people are worried about junk in space, but LEO is a soft cleaning kind of orbit. Is that if something is defected, it means it can't propel itself, so it automatically falls back. As compared to if things are a bit higher. If they're a bit higher, if there's a fault, it stays there for even years. But when it's lower, it's a soft cleaning orbit. If there's a defect,
It will be pulled down.
it will be pulled down. So the LEO is kind of like a self-cleaning orbit. As you get higher, things if something is damaged, it can spend years in there. So actually LEO is actually safer than.
Every day, millions of moments travel through the air. A call home, a payment made, a lesson learned, a life saved. But behind each moment is something steady, something quiet, unseen, unshaken, powering connection, supporting lives. This is Econet InfraCo, Zimbabwe's largest private infrastructure group, comprising towers, power, and real estate. We build and operate the essential systems that hold the country together with scale, certainty, and purpose. We bring together three powerful engines of progress under one roof. Towers that carry the signal, clean energy that keeps it alive, and foundations that hold it all in one place. Because behind every connection, every transaction, every step forward, there's a quiet force. Econet InfraCo, built for resilience, designed for growth.
So I keep wondering if, because you are an optimist,
Yeah.
clearly, and you love this stuff. So I keep wondering if I need to discount for your optimism. Like, Willard says that there's going to be more capacity and this is going to happen. And so is it because he's an extreme optimist? So I need to discount for that. So if I am in Harare, right, and now it's sold out, and I'm having to do these gymnastics to have these roaming kids from Europe and South America and stuff. Realistically, how do you think, given all these developments that are happening, how long do you think it will take? What's the estimate in terms of how long people will wait until Starlink opens up? So that's one. Number two, which is the other side of that coin, is how long do you think ISPs have until they need to be scaring for cover again and having to reduce prices, because that thing is back. Yes. Because right now, most are like, yeah, my so, you know, yeah, and they froze it, so they reduced the prices. Then they looked, they're like, I think we're good, and they froze. Starlink is taking market share in places that they were not reaching anyway. How long do you think these ISPs have before their core market is being disrupted again?
Okay, that's a good question. First, I'll talk about the optimism that you spoke about. Our optimism, or my optimism, is data-driven. If you look at the capacity and sold-out areas around the world, they've been gradually reducing as more ground stations are being added. Like I was saying, South America right now, you know, you have the Amazonas area, which has been at capacity for a long time. Right now, outside Africa, the only other place that's at capacity is Jamaica.
Jamaica.
Yes, but Philippines they've now they don't have any capacity. Brazil, Argentina, America. They do have waiting lists, but the capacity issue was solved. Even in London, the capacity issue was solved. So Starlink is working on reducing capacity, but in other countries it's a bit easier because
in increasing capacity.
I mean, they're increasing capacity and therefore reducing the sold out areas. Right now, outside Africa, the only sold out area is Jamaica. So Starlink is working on improving sold out areas. But the challenge that we have is that Africa, because of regulatory delays, getting ground stations takes time as compared to other countries. But what SpaceX is working on is the V3 satellites that are going to have more capacity, and these are being launched this year. And based on that, we can expect that things are going to start improving sometime this year. But once Starship launches, we can then be confident about that. Regarding other ISPs, there's now another dimension of direct to cell, whereby initially the competition was only Starlink, but now there's now direct to cell competition, and we see that in Africa, there's already companies like MTN and Vodacom that have already partnered with direct to cell, which means that areas where there was no cell signals, Starlink will now cover that, and those V3 satellites will also provide more capacity. Like right now, in other countries, you can now make calls on WhatsApp, and you can now start using data. Initially, it was SMS, but now you can actually start now using data for some certain services. So ISPs now
I can make calls on WhatsApp. Explain that.
In areas where there's no cell signal
At all.
at all.
So how does that work? MTN partners Starlink to provide someone data connectivity where there is no MTN signal. Is that what you said?
Yes.
How does that work?
So the satellite just becomes the base station. Instead of connecting to a base station that's by the mountain close to their village, they are connecting directly to the satellite without needing a satellite phone or anything or an antenna, with just their normal smartphone.
Yes.
So the smartphone, the technology on the smartphone, the LTE or 5G receiver on the smartphone is already robust enough to connect to a satellite in low.
So the work is on the satellite, the technology to say, okay, no, this is the capacity and the capability of the smartphones. How can we connect to this phone?
How can you send
Yeah. So that's why it was.
signal to it?
So that's why it was saying. Oh, so it was calls and SMS, and now they're saying, okay, for some of these more heavier data packets, we can now do some WhatsApp. We can now do some.
So why does Starlink need MTN in that scenario?
Yeah, that's actually a good question, because you now go back to ground stations, and also they're now what Starlink is actually preferring to do is to partner with local service providers, because at the end of the day, when I send a text, I need to send it back to Econet at the end of the day. So they are preferring to say, you know what, let's partner with these people with these organizations instead of just outrightly not partnering with them, because the whole Starlink architecture is collaborative. When you have a ground station, you're connecting to fiber. So this now brings an opportunity for companies like Telecel, for example. Right? Telecel right now, they're facing challenges, but if they were to partner right now with Starlink, it can actually revive their.
Oh, believe me, Telecel's problems are not commercial.
But I'm just saying.
But there was talk of Net1 talking to Starlink about direct to cell, was there?
It was AST Mobile. It's another company. Yeah. So
Is that another low Earth orbit?
yes, that provides direct to cell. No, it's American.
It's American.
Yes, direct to cell services. So initially, it was not just your satellite that was disrupting, but now you now have your direct to cell that's disrupting, and also IoT. So if you've got like your devices that use the IoT technology, so like let's say for example, if you've got like in New Zealand, there are beehives now. They're now actually connecting using IoT. So the ISPs now just need to collaborate, because telecoms is now a collaborative field. So it's not too much about competition, but how you can collaborate with other providers. So I think we, as Zimbabwe, we now need to start opening up and collaborating more with SpaceX. Instead of treating it as competition, they have to see how they can collaborate. And I'm thankful that companies like MTN, Vodacom, Orange, T-Mobile, they've now, MTN initially was a bit resistant to Starlink and Vodacom as well. But now they're actually now seeing the advantages of actually partnering.
Resistant to Starlink or resistant to Elon and Trump? But anyway, I can see
change.
you looking to close.
Yeah.
No? You seem anxious.
Yes, I am. But so before we close, so one of the things I'm most curious about is, so you've been helping people get Starlink kids, you've been consulting people in that and everything. So when talk of Starlink first started, we would hear, no, it's too expensive for Zimbabweans. And yet it's at capacity in Harare, Bulawayo, and it's popular. We're talking one of the biggest markets for Starlink. So who is buying Starlink and how are they financing it? Because you mentioned some in remote areas, in rural areas. I imagine some are farmers, some are this, some are that. But who's actually buying this case and how are they paying for these things?
Okay, that's a good question. I never thought Starlink was going to be too expensive because if you're as old as me, you remember that people used to buy a SIM card for the price of a cow. Yeah. so like communication is just something that people need, and people in the rural areas would actually sell their cows to actually get.
We're used to investing in connectivity.
so it was not really much. And speaking on people I've been assisting, I have to say this: in the diaspora, I would get like the elderly people calling me, 70, 60, 65 years, old ladies will call me and they say, what, I've been reading about you on Twitter. I want to connect like in Fela Busi. How can you help me? How can you help me connect? The good thing in the diaspora, they've got their cards and all, so I'll just walk them through how to set it up. And someone who's like 65, 70 would actually, from where they are, they would actually connect someone in the rural areas. And I found that was actually quite interesting. But also something that Starlink actually brings in is that it's making more people bankable. People are now getting EcoCash debit cards. They are now, they are like with Starlink. Everyone uses Starlink. Most people are using Starlink. They're actually going through the right channels, and they're also now actually getting cards to use the service, to pay their subscription. So you find that maybe some people probably they never even used to use the service, but now they're actually getting EcoCash virtual cards or Omari virtual cards. And the people who are using it, I've worked with people like who are doing school in remote areas, and they're doing school online, and this has actually helped them. So the cost of actually then trying to do it without having a Starlink kit now becomes more expensive. So they find out that, if I actually invest in a Starlink kit, I don't have to now start going into town and doing my assignments and coming back. So now you find that the cost of actually having Starlink now becomes a lot cheaper. And another interesting case scenario is the security, like security cameras. A lot of people in the diaspora now can actually install security equipment, and they can actually have real-time access on what's happening on their farms, what's happening on their mines, and also being able to communicate with the people who are on the ground. Because if you don't have this, it would be very difficult just to pass a message to say.
You can be told stories.
You can be told stories. So just that on its own, if you look at the cost of that, and then you start factoring it in, you actually find that connectivity now makes it a lot more efficient and a lot easier. There are people actually building houses, and they are mining, and they're able to see in real time what's happening locally. And another point,
So they don't have to wait for an update.
And they can see it.
Cameras.
Yes.
They can see it live.
They can see it
Any time of the day.
Any time of the day, they can see it live.
Delivery dinner they can see it anytime.
They can see it.
They can actually maybe even be involved in the project in that they can pay for things, they can know Rauya.
Exactly.
And maybe if you, like you were saying, IoT devices and stuff, like you can actually open a door for someone who UK isn't. Someone who's come to do a service and be like, yeah.
Exactly. Like
Pindai.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing because like if you look at like the digital economy, the amount that the diaspora actually brings in just from remittances. That's the digital economy. But now, instead of remittances, because of this connectivity, it now goes a layer above where people can now start interacting with services. And that again will now be, the diaspora now can become active in the economy without actually going through remittances. They can buy bricks direct, they can buy sugar direct, they can buy cameras direct, they can buy cows direct at any time from.
So from what I'm getting from what you're saying is you are seeing a lot of diasporans financing Starlink kits in Zimbabwe. So
For their benefit or for their?
It's
in
two
the
ways.
end,
It's
benefits
two
everyone,
ways
yeah.
because there's another scenario I don't highlight whereby people from diaspora, even their old schools, they are now actually buying Starlink kits
for their old
for their old
schools,
schools or hospitals or clinics,
communities, stuff.
communities and stuff like that. So it's direct. It's both direct and
Okay.
and indirect.
And
then
also, here's a way I can help.
For their minds, there are people with Airbnbs now, where they now have Starlink. You just communicate with them. They've got a system where you either punch in a code or a key, you get inside, and then after that it locks the Wi-Fi and everything. And they're all managing it from the diaspora.
No, that's making a lot of sense to me because I think it wasn't a crazy thought to say Starlink would be expensive for the majority of Zimbabweans. That is objectively true. To say, okay, we kind of know, seeing Zimstat surveys and everything about how much households make, it is a stretch for the majority of Zimbabweans to afford. So, but that factor of almost every family has relatives in the diaspora who assist in some of these things. I guess it's one that was a bit underestimated when people were thinking, this is just going to be a luxury toy for just the rich urbanites, when in effect, where people are getting a lot of help from relatives abroad to finance these things. So are people selling cows as well to get their kids? Are you seeing that kind of thing as well?
Well, I won't say that because also another thing that I never highlighted is that there are a lot of people who are now creating hotspots. So you find that even like in the village, at someone's shop, you'll buy a Starlink and then you'll sell the service for as low as R1 an hour or $1 a day. So the community now comes and then they use the Wi-Fi. So it's now like more of a business for them. So the community are not getting Starlink directly, but they now have a more affordable way to actually access the
They don't have to travel 40 kilometers to send an email anymore.
Yeah, so now they're
the internet
paying
cafe
R1
has come
or
closer.
Yes, the internet cafes, because you couldn't have that back in the day. So you find that a lot of people are actually buying it and then they're creating one.
And is that allowed by Starlink?
Doesn't matter. Like reselling. Yeah. I don't know, because once the internet gets to you, it's yours, isn't you?
No, but they're telling
I think there is that, but well, Elon did say that once Starlink can supply our neighborhood. So I think probably they probably let it pass. Yeah.
Okay, no, interesting. So that was my the last thing I need because we really need to wrap up.
I was going to ask about why is a place like Mrewa sold out? Is it that whole thing you were talking about beams? Like, why is Mrewa sold out? I mean, it's
okay. Yeah,
quite far from Harare, man.
That's actually a good question.
Yeah.
But before,
are there lots of Starlinks in Mrewa or what?
No, that's actually a good question. Chances are there are not a lot of Starlinks in Mrewa. But what happens is that before the sold out area was mapped out differently. Like years back, they used to do it per cell beam. So like sold out area was not like a continuous sold out area. It would be just like dots that were sold out. But what was happening was that in those dots, someone would just use an address outside that dot. Like if it was covering a 5 kilometer radius or 10 kilometer radius, someone would just choose like just outside. So what Starlink then said, let's just create just a continuous.
Let's join all these.
Let's join all these dots.
Okay.
But that didn't help because people still also it did help, but people would also still use that. So like you can use a service address that's like 20, 25, or even up to 30 kilometers away. So what happens is that you find that the sold out area is first a small circle and becomes a bigger circle and then a bigger circle. But people are just using the edges. Although the people are not on the edges, but they keep using the edges and trying to push it as far as they can to the 20, 30K. So it's not really like that place is at capacity, but the people who are congested in a certain area are just using
just keep pushing it out.
That's what's happening.
So it keeps expanding.
So
someone in Noto now is probably trying to push 30 kilometers outside Noto.
Exactly.
And someone in Chebutu is trying to push 30 kilometers, which means they are approaching Kadoma and all those places.
And it's not like someone in Norton did anything wrong, but it could have been that someone in Harare is Norton before he got his.
Yes.
So by the time he got his, he couldn't get his, then he's like, let me use this.
So it keeps growing.
So the people who might have not got it, they're now trying to use. So it's just like a ripple.
Do you think these areas, the sold out areas are going to increase before the solution that SpaceX is putting in place starts to take effect? Should someone in Kadoma be worried? Or someone in Gweru? Or someone in Shanghai? Should they be like, maybe let me buy now, let me not.
I think there's a lot of changes that happen in 2026. But if you do have the opportunity to buy outside Harare, usually you can buy it in installments. I'll urge people to buy it now because, the sold out area is getting big.
If you can buy now, especially given the installments, what's the lowest you can pay for you to get it on installment?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it's like $43.
$43.
Yes. And then once it comes, then that's 43 for the initial installment. It's actually 20 and then 23 for shipping, and then makes it 43. Then after that, you have to pay the installment plus the package you choose. So the lowest package is $35. So it works out to about close to $50 a month, not knowing with the digital tax if it's been implemented
And
or
whether
not.
it's charging for the service or just the.
Like it.
Another question. So you are. So is that something you hope to see or something that you're seeing already? Because you said, I'm paraphrasing, if we have 50,000 Starlink subscribers, that means we have 50,000 people, households that now are experiencing the power of e-commerce, the power of paying for something online, and that have watched that happening. And therefore, are you seeing the emergence of activity that was not there before, like people's behaviors starting to be, I can do this online, I can buy for this online, I can pay for this online, where before people had the behavior of going physically to buy things, or were you saying this is an opportunity for us to see that if it can happen with Starlink, if we can observe Starlink in the Starlink e-commerce process itself, but also now we have the cards and we're keeping them active because we have to pay Starlink monthly. Maybe there is an opportunity for e-commerce type startups to say, hey, Starlink has trained the behavior for you at least, or is sparking a new era for you, and you can build your products that people might consume where in the past they would not know how to interact with that product.
Yes, that's basically where we are going. If you look at, I'll just look at the service that people are familiar to. Like if you look at, for example, InDrive, already people had cars. There was already a need. What was just not available was just that app to connect the drivers to the people. And once you now brought in that technology, people they now were able to embrace things like InDrive. So it's the same thing with Starlink, that sometimes the technology has to be there. I'll give an example like Facebook. Internet had to be there for Facebook to be there. Mark Zuckerberg, in his room, he had to first have that internet. So sometimes just having that technology then starts creating these use cases and these applications. Like for example, we see that now there's now Mukuru, there's now World Remit, because the internet, which is an enabler, is now there. So just like now that we have the internet is going to 8,000 schools. Very soon we'll see some people similar to Mark Zuckerberg coming, because they now analyze their situation and they see their surroundings, and they now know that they can actually solve a problem using the technology that's there. So although we might not see it immediately, but the fact that people now know that, I can now easily get a virtual card. I need to make a payment. Zimbabwe's situation is a bit different in the fact that, our taxes are a bit high, and you've got that IMT2 tax. It might slow down the process, but I think that's why people also be saying that, could you please remove these taxes? Then it can now make business a bit easier online.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah. So we have to wrap up.
Yeah, we have to wrap up, because like I'll just say this, like it's just like we've got InDrive like here, but I'm sure like if you go to remote areas, like Kunengoro, Kunichichi, it could be easier to someone just goes on his app, or something, to be a lot easier to actually to get things like that.
Via for tractors. Via for Ngoro.
Yeah. Or maybe hospitals, you cannot get a specialist. Like maybe the hospital might not have a specialist, but now you've got technology, you can now speak to someone from Parenya or India to actually help you with a sophisticated disease. Homesteaders,
people that live city life to go and settle in Vilabusi, in Nyangani, or in the Valley, Chivi. Because there was mention of those guys saying, now I can go and live in my rurals, build a nice place, modern facilities, because I can work my remote job from Vilabusi. Have you seen any of that, or it was just people?
Yeah, it's actually happening. It's happening. People are actually moving, and now with connectivity, we're going to start seeing more and more of this. Like going back to e-commerce, you can actually see people like Thierry, for example. He's doing very well, and Thierry, he's got quite a huge following, and people know
he's running a whole thing.
Yes, people know about him because of e-commerce. I doubt he wouldn't have such a successful business without showcasing what he had online. I think the internet plays a big role in that.
And he would probably be using something like Starlink.
Chances are, and it will now be easier for someone to actually open something like Quateri because they now have that platform.
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So we cannot exhaust everything. We will have this conversation. We'll pick it up sometime because
we'll have him back.
We'll have him back because
please do.
Yeah,
and I can talk about stuff.
Yeah, because there's stuff about IP ranges. There's all this stuff that people see online and they're excited. They ask, "No, I saw that there are new IP ranges. Does it mean capacity?" So there's just a lot of stuff we could.
Willard will just tweet. There's a new blog.
No, sorry for that. I think I might just have to.
What's a new blog?
I might have to start breaking that down.
People get excited. Oh, there's a new blog.
I think but usually people actually do ask him. I think after those tweets, hey man,
am I getting English service tomorrow?
I think rock kind of helps, but I think I'll probably have to break down what that means. But I'll probably cover it in a different segment. Yes. Yeah, I think that'll be it.
So guys, that was it. And special thanks to our guest, Willard Shoko. Now, thanks, man, for enlightening us on what's going on in the world of Starlink. Like and subscribe, share with a friend, share with a co-worker, share with someone, share with me even. So, you anything to say?
Nope.
See you next week, guys.